Good morning. My name is Perla Havate, and I'm your host for Empowering Voices, Stories of Resilience and Hope. Welcome to the storytelling project of the Coalition of Manitoba Cultural Communities for Families. Our focus is on telling stories of immigrants and those who experience being refugees. Their stories will be about how social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, values and beliefs have impacted their lives, their families, and their communities. We are interested in learning what has worked well and what we could do better in our city today. This morning, we are happy to have a guest in our podcast, Miss Patricia Ukpoka Iamba. Patricia is currently serving as Program Coordinator for the Community Settlement Program at Family Dynamics. She is a social development practitioner, a published author, a coach, a mentor, and integral leadership expert. Welcome, Patricia. We are so glad to have you with us today to share your story. To start with, please tell us who you are, where you are from, and which community you identify with.
Thank you so much, Bella. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me. My name is Patricia Iyamba Boka, and I'm from a small village called Ikun in Cross River State of Nigeria. It's in the south-south. Nigeria is in West Africa. I am the 10th child in a family of 12 children. My mother was a businesswoman, and my father is a Scottish trained scholar. He was the first indigenous principal in my province, like you call it province, we call it state back in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So in coming over to Canada, we bring to us a wealth of experiences that gives us the tools to cope with life's challenges. Can you give us a sense of how it was back home in your country? Please describe to us your family growing up, the important values you and your siblings grew up with.
Thank you so much. Growing up, I grew up like a very normal child, and like you all know, Nigeria is very huge in diversity. So wherever you are, like Nigeria itself, it's a huge diversity, you know. So we have like over 200 languages, and it might interest you to know that there are some communities that the male and the female speak different language. So that's how hugely diversified my country is.
Right.
And so growing up, I grew up in that community where you have people from all tribes, all tongues, speaking different languages. But it was fun growing up as in a family of 12 kids and the 10th child. My parents are very spiritual people. My mother was brought up in the way of royalty. So there was a lot of prim and proper kind of sitting as a woman, talking, although I've lost it over the years because of other interactions. But when we were growing up, you were trained to be a gentleman and a lady. And my father was an academic, you know, so he was very particular about us schooling and all that. So growing up, there were certain things that cannot be compromised in my family. You have to be very spiritual, and when I say spiritual, it's not going to church. We were not like churchy people, but we were taught the value of connecting to your higher self, your higher consciousness, which is purity, honesty, integrity, authenticity, you know, truth, hard work. There were the values that we all grew up with. And sometimes there's something we call it was an anthem in my home, no work, no food. We call it no work, no chop. The chop is food in the Nigerian parlance. So we say no work, no food. So that's how we grew up. So if you don't do your portion of your chores, which my mother saw like work, you won't eat. Okay. That day, your meal will be seized from you. And so that's the kind of background I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of love. A lot like objective love, not spoiled love. You will be told that this is what you did is wrong, but you'll be drawn back. You know how we said you beat a child with your right hand and you bring that child back with your left hand. So that's how we grew up. We grew up telling the truth. Even to my parents, they say, when my mother talks, sometimes I would say, you know what, I'm not going to argue with you, but I don't think, I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, that far in my home, because we were taught to say it as it is. Even my mother would say, she would say, even if you see an angel doing a wrong thing, it's not a guarantee that you should do it. Your angel comes from heaven and is doing something, don't do it. So she is talking about herself as my mom, that even though you see me, your mother, doing something, it's your duty to come. So be bold enough to let me know that you're not comfortable with what I'm doing to you. So that is the kind of family that we grew up. Truth, ability to discuss your differences, ability to have a conversation. We had a big lunch table. Our dinner table was very big to accommodate visitors. And another aspect of my family is that my home was considered an embassy. Because we live, it's like you stay in the North End, and then there is Winnipeg, and people have to go to Toronto to school. So my home was the embassy of my community, my core Ikun people, where I come from. So whenever you're coming to the city of Winnipeg, which is like Calabar, where I live, you will be your parents literally say, go to Chief Basukbakla Basi's house. So the address was displayed, my family's address was displayed in the palace. So as you're coming, you take down that note and even the description on how to get to my house. So my home, 24/7 of cooking, people have to eat, people have to be mentored, and we had a standard library. My father had to build a library too for those students who are coming and say they want to do research. So there was a lot of charity kind of, and from that kind of background.
So was anyone in your family in politics as well?
Oh yes, actually my last brother is in politics right now. He is in politics. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a politician.
Yeah, I guess being the 10th child of 12, it must have been really a very rich experience for you.
Oh my goodness.
With surrounded by your brothers and sisters and your parents and your community.
Yes.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? That is what my mother taught us. She would say life is not a bed of roses, but life is not a piece of cake. So this is what she would put food in a big bowl. And the big brothers want to intimidate you and she would say, you have to fight and get your food, your portion. That's how I grew up. She said, she would say, this is life. And I don't know, I lost my father at the age of 7.
Really?
Yeah, so my mother literally was the breadwinner of the family. So she would keep it, said, this is life, but you have to look for your portion and hold it tight. That's what she tells us. So the food was put in there. My big brothers will come, and they big, like traditionally, you have to give space to your elder brother and all that. And she said, if the food is finished, that's all. I remember her to say, so make sure you get your portion as you're eating right there. So that is the kind of perspective I grew up with. That life, get your portion in truth. In truth. That's what in truth. Because if you get it this way, you will lose it.
I'm familiar with that kind of dynamics in a family because I've been exposed as well with a relative who had that similar experience with many children in the family and the openness to the community. It's like a hub for the community, and that's great. I guess growing up in your country, you also did a lot of things as a grown-up. Yeah. You've been involved in many things. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. And I'll tell you my story. Growing up as a young girl, young teenager, I was very active in school. I was a member of the press club. We call it press club, where they teach you how to write short stories and you publish it. We were the information people of the school as when we were in high school, what we call secondary school back home. You call it middle school and all that. So we had all those extracurricular activities of drama club, social club, writing club, press club, and I was a member of the drama club and I was a member of the press club, and I was very active. And so when I graduated, I had to go for an interview because I was waiting for my results to get into the university. We take what they call JAM. You don't automatically graduate from school and get into the university in Nigeria. You must take an entrance, a university entrance called JAM. a joint admission matriculation board. So that result is what actually, even if you had parallel A's in your grade 12 or something and you fail that JAM, you won't have admission into the university. So, and then I was waiting to get into to the university. There was time. I had to take, there was an advertisement for amateur journalists in my state's media. It's called Cross River Radio. And so I applied for it, and I was 16, 17, about that. And then I got the job. I was the first. I applied with graduates, diploma holders in mass communication, but I came first. And so they called me, the director of information, who incidentally is my aunt, who didn't want me to apply because she said, I don't want you to go to work. I don't want you to go to school. And she said, your father will kill me if I allow you to work without going to school. But I had to secretly do that. But so when she saw me in the interview panel and attending the interview, she couldn't stop me, because there were other people there and she couldn't stop me. So I went. Then they called me, second interview, and they said, how old are you? I told them, they said, what qualification do you have? I said, oh, I'm just graduating from high school, blah, blah, blah. And I said, but you had highest. I said, yes, because I was actively involved in press club. And we had a professional as the coordinator of the press club in my secondary school. So he teaches us exactly how the real life was in mass communication. So I got those. And a young child soaks, a young mind soaks a lot. So I didn't have any distraction. I just poured that interview with them. So that is one. That is how I started my career. I started my career really, really as if it's in a real world, thrown out there into the real society of men, women, children, the who is whose, because I'll be sent to interview even like what you call premier. Here is governor in my state. You call the governor, you call the mayor. I'll interview the mayor as a young girl. It was quite exciting, but then I grew up. I become much more mature than my age. Because that teenage whatever, I didn't have time to enjoy it. I went straight into work, like very serious work, So after that, I got admission to study business administration. My first degree is actually in business administration, and my second master's is an MBA in business administration as well. But however, I have never worked in a bank. My mother owned a business, so I supported her in part-time. But when it comes to my core career, I have always seen myself working in the community, like naturally. I just go in and I'm mobilizing and all that. So when eventually I had admission, I told myself, community, I know. I want to do something different. That's why I deviated into business admin, to have an idea of something that wasn't natural to me. But I think I don't regret it, because right now everything is fluid. Like, you can't say on site, even when you're doing community development, there's social, how do they call it, the social marketing in the non-governmental sector. There's also business there. So that's my story. Yeah. And then when I got to Canada, I had to now study and had another master's. I wanted to go for my PhD, but I had a mentor when I got here, Alka, and she said, don't do PhD yet, okay? I think go and do a second master's in development, so that you can have a academic background for your skills.
Okay, so when and why did you decide to come to Canada? And why Canada?
Why Canada? So, okay, my journey so when I graduated in Nigeria, I started working in the development sector. I worked with international organizations like European Union, I worked with USAID, I worked with an organization called Living Earth Nigeria Foundation, which is environmentally based, and now finally I work with the Canadian organization called One Sky. So the One Sky organization is a policy-focused organization, basically working with community organizations to influence policy, environmental policy in particular, through gender and youth lens.
Okay.
So I became the director. I grew from one perspective. I think
it's a Canadian base.
It's a Canadian base. Yeah,
okay.
It's a Canadian based organization. And so while there, one of my roles was to mentor intern students who are coming for internship, and they came from Canada, and then the Nigerian students. So it was like a bridge kind of program. We also had like 5 partners, environmental NGOs in Canada, and 5 partners, environmental NGO in Nigeria. And then we had in Sierra Leone as well. So the objective is to bring these 2 cultures together, these organizations from these 3 countries together, and see where the meeting point is and the differences are. So One Sky played the role of a midwife. What we did, because Canadian government couldn't fund directly our NGOs, the Nigerian NGOs, so they needed an organization, an agency. So One Sky was that agency who got all the funding and distributed to the partners. So we work with 10 partners, 5 local, 5 international, Nigeria and Canada. So my role was, I was doing almost everything. So I was mentoring the intern students who came in, and so one of them, in the process of work, there was romance, as usual, and one of them got married to a Nigerian guy and eventually relocated to Canada. And so when the guy came, as soon as he came, he said he sent me a form. He said, "Auntie, you have to come to Canada. Bring Valor. My son's name is Valor. And then you come to Canada." So I opened the form. It was so voluminous. And so I said, "Oh my God, Tawo, I don't think I have time to read these documents. I won't be able. It's so much. And I don't want to leave Nigeria. I'm doing a good job. I'm traveling outside the country. I could go for vacation when I want. What else? My son is in a very good school. My son was schooling in Avicenna International then, which is a British school. And it's like half of the teachers are white. So, I don't think I have any problem with coming to Canada. If it is just coming to Canada, I'll visit you." So he said, "No, Auntie, it's different." He said, "When you live in a country, it's different from when you visit a country." So we paused at that. It took him 3 years after the experience. He personally came to Nigeria. Then I had relocated from my province to another province, from Calabar to Lagos. Okay. So we were now living in Lagos because my husband's business was now in Lagos. And so we moved to Lagos. And when we moved to Lagos, 2 or 3 years after, he came to my house with the form. And then started saying, he did like this. "Auntie, this form, I have to go back with it. This form, you will fill it." And I said, no. And so he started talking. Then he said to my husband, he said, "You know what, Uncle? It's not about you guys. It's about this boy. I want him to have a different worldview." I said that worldview changed the dynamics, the narrative. So yes, the worldview. And so he said, don't fill it. Give me the information. I'll be filling it for you." So we were all walking in the house around. "Auntie, what is this name?" He went, "Auntie, what is this?" So he was, "Can I have the document?" We'll get him the document. So he came to Canada with that package. And it wasn't long. So the story, and then we are here. It was quite faster than I thought, and then we are here. So why I came to Canada is because of my son.
All right.
That was why we relocated to.
So you came to Canada with your family?
Oh yes, completely. My husband. I have a very small family. Me, my husband, my son, and I.
Okay, the 3 of you.
Yeah, 3 of us. Yeah.
So how did you find it coming? As soon as you came here, I guess you have to settle down. How was it like?
You know what? Of a truth, living in a country is different from visiting a country. Of a truth. And I think the reality is, when we were coming, like everybody all over the world, okay, in Nigeria, people believe that Canada is the heaven, is the paradise we're all looking for. But people don't want to embrace the fact that people are people. People are people. You're not going to meet space. You're going to meet people like you, who think like you, reason like you. The difference is that you have systems working, like you have your constant light, you have water and all that, but it's people. So you still need to walk around people to live. So the challenge is when you are, like when we were coming, I personally lose guard. I'm like, I'm going to see angels on the street, I'm going to do this. And then I came here, it took me time to really understand that there is no color actually. We are people in reality. And I have to work with people the same way I work with people in my country. So coming here, I didn't harvest job from the tree. I didn't meet people. People didn't just bump into me to help me. I had to launch into the deep. I had to go out and start asking questions. And then that is where all the skills that I had learned as a child was coming to play. And I found out being outspoken, approaching people, asking for help, not being shy, making yourself vulnerable to get what you want. Humble, being humble as well was part of it. So, and that was it. So I just had to say, okay, this is people. I just have to ask questions. So it was challenging, really challenging, because I compared it with when the Canadians come to Nigeria and I have to receive them, I have to mentor them. I remember sometimes my executive director, when he visits the country, he would say to me, Patricia, I'm not going for that meeting except you come with me. And I'm like, Mike Simpson, no, why? You think you can't do it? So no. I'm not going except you come with me, So I was now remembering how my Canadian friends, my Canadian colleague used to want me around, and I was like, what is wrong with you guys? How they wanted me to come with them, how they even want me to sleep in their room with them, how they wanted me to help them go to the market and all that. And I'm like, what? This is exactly what I need here now. So this was what they were going through, and I didn't appreciate it then. And I remember one of them calling me, said to me, Patricia, I guess you see because she stays in Calgary, she said, I guess you see what I was going through then. So that was it. That is what I tell people. You're not coming to paradise, you're coming to meet people. The same effort you worked for in Nigeria is the same you need here, and even more, because you don't understand the system here. I understand my system in Nigeria.
That's right.
If you do talk to me, I know how to talk to you. If you slap me, I could slap you back. I mean, no, but I know what I'm trying to say is that I know the system in Nigeria. But the system here, I don't know. What do I say when Martins is talking to me? What do I say when Bellas tells me this? How do I say it so it will be, Canadian friendly? So I have to learn all that, which is the same. You can't come to my country and be too quiet. They'll consult an oracle for you. They say, what's wrong with Bella? Are you okay? But you just have to, a little bit. So that's that.
I suppose it would have helped if you had another Patricia also meeting you here.
Exactly.
Paving the way for you to understand the different systems. So now, having done it all by yourself, can you share with us some challenges you had with the various systems that you had to face from the very outset you came here in Canada?
Thank you so much, Bella. Very interesting question. When I came, I had huge challenges because my expectation wasn't the reality.
Right.
Number one, I really thought when I come, I'm going to get a job easily. No, it's not there. I still had to do some work on myself. Number two, I thought that, everything was just going to be like harvesting them from trees and everything was aligning and all that. No. So, but what has helped me is my childhood, all those growing up experiences and all that, reaching out, contacting people, making myself vulnerable. So that was what I did. I was very active in the community. Anybody, if you met me, you will know. Anybody I met, I will ask you a question about Canada. I will ask you about how can I get a job. I will ask you how will I manage my life here. And I didn't hesitate to say, I'm new, I just arrived. Like we came in the heart of winter, like October. And it was the worst, like 2013, when they had the worst winter, right? And it was too cold. It was strange. So you wake up, you're seeing snow. You will not understand the magnitude of snow until you experience it. So those were my challenges. I didn't even know how to bus. I remember one day I had put in my ticket and I heard the driver say, transfer. I didn't know what transfer was. So I just passed. And that was it. So a trip that I would have paid like $3, then it was $2 something cents. I ended up paying up to $5. And when you come in newly, every cent counts. I was so angry. So I reached out to everywhere that I knew I will get support. And whether you give it to me or not, it doesn't matter. I will move to the next person. So that's how my journey has been. Meeting people, contacting people, making myself vulnerable, asking questions, a lot of questions, reaching out to all the communities that could help, the church community, the I volunteered a lot. I volunteered with ECOM. I volunteered with Winnipeg School Division. I volunteered with even Family Dynamics. I volunteered with them. I got my job. So there was a lot of all those things that I did. I served in the church. I volunteered in 2 churches. One was my Nigerian church and one was like real Canadian church, because I wanted to have the true Canadian experience. And it's been worth it, to be honest. It's been really worth it, launching out like into the deep to reach out to all that.
At that time, we already have a lot of immigrant serving agencies. How did you find them? What kind of help did you get from them?
You know, I stayed 6 months. Because when you go to some of these information centers, or you go for information session, there's so much information that you don't know which one is good for you. So for me, I think every newcomer needs a babysitter. Because they give you files. I don't want to mention agencies and all that, but you're giving so much information that you don't know what to do. I said over 6 months, I didn't know there was child care money or whatever. I didn't even know about my health. I didn't have a family doctor. I didn't. So many of those basic things that people who had people here helped, I didn't. The only thing that the guy who helped us, brought us here, did for us, he spent only 3 days. So he helped us with doing police reports and child care and all that. He said to us, this and SIN, getting that SIN number and all that. And he said to me, this is the first certificate in Canada, the child abuse certificate and the police clearance. He said that is the first certificate, and he left 3 days. So 3 days, we were like 3-day-old babies, actually. Confused, but we survived it. We were asking questions. So our skills growing up helped us to launch in, because we asked questions, we reached out, people helped us. People were giving us information. So that was how we got to know about community settlement worker at the St. James area. So we went and met them, and they were asking us all these questions, childcare, blah, blah, and all that. And we said we don't know. 6 months into the country, we didn't know. And money, you remember, exchange rate, money was going, right? And everything that you came with, the money that we brought was just going down the drain. But the good thing, we were able to fix our son in school, and so he was settled, and register him for extracurricular activities so he can be busy. So we worked towards that to settle him the first month. For us, it took quite a while.
So what grade was your son?
He came in, he was 9 years old, he was in grade 5 here. It took him, grade 5, I think. Yeah.
So the school was helpful as well? How did you find it?
His first teacher was amazing. I don't know how she knows about the African, culture and all that, but she was amazing, because I had my son, African child, you can't bottle us, like, you can't. And a lot of people don't understand. They think he's ADHD or something. So some children are labeled ADHD while they are not. Because during recess, kids are climbing trees, kids are running around, and all that. Kids are free. But here, there's classroom voice. I got to learn classroom voice, hand by your side. Who does that? We share food. Children bring food. And so it was a shock, for my child. So during this, my child would be dancing through the, part in the school, and they would just be going, I'm smart, and the school didn't get it funny, so the principal would call me. I'm like, well, I will talk to him, but it will take him time to know that you are different from where he is coming from. And that was what we did. His room teacher was mentoring him as well, because I think the room teacher has taught in Africa. Right. So she was his best friend then, and the lady did a good job, a real good job. And I think that's what we need for our children. People who believe in them and know that they're not out of the way. So that's about my child. Getting a job, I volunteered. I was a serial volunteer.
Okay.
A serial volunteer, yeah. And I did it with all joy, gratitude, humility, and thankfulness. I was grateful I had opportunity to learn. And it was part of the volunteering that I ran into people who could help me. Like I keep saying, Alka was one of my angels, if I have to put it that way. Rosalina Vincula was one of them as well. Okay. A lot of people helped me. The Salam, she's no longer here. So I met people repositioned in different places to just lift me up, teach me character, teach me how to talk. Grace Kion is another person who helped me. And how to talk, how to behave in a workplace and all that.
Right.
And then I went to success skills. My history is not complete without success skills.
Okay.
Because prior to this time, I had written 70, I sent 70 resume, not one responded. Until I went into success skill, met her and met Alka. And then they started teaching. They looked at my personality. You know how you do passive culture here and the warm culture. In Nigeria, they will tell you, don't do this, don't do this. In Canada, they will say, could you do it like this? You don't even know whether they're saying you should do it or not to do it. So these two people are the ones who sat me down and telling me about they could, they should, they would things. So when you hear that, it means this is what you're supposed to do. Okay. So by the time I wrote 3 applications, I sent 3 resumes in success skill. I had 3 interviews.
Okay.
3 interviews. I was invited for 3 interviews. So that's when my journey started. And same with my husband, and we just grew up from there. And so today.
How long did it take you to get a job?
It took me 8 months.
Okay.
But I got a first job. When I'm talking of job, is job that is related to what I'm doing back home.
Yeah.
So I got a job with Home Depot as a greeter.
Okay.
I love it as a greeter, And my store manager was quite mature. So one day he came, I was dancing, I was greeting and dancing. It was fun. I was like, welcome to Home Depot. Welcome here this morning. How are you this morning? Good morning. Well, with my smile, I was happy. I got the job, I think, 2 or 2 months after also. And then the store manager came, and I would be singing, I'll be singing, humming, like my Africanness, right? And then he would come and say, people like you don't last in my organization. I'm going to lose you. You're going to go. You are too good to last here, And I'm like, what is this man saying? This is my first interview, my first, stepping stone job, kind of, Right. And he said, oh, you're not going to last here, Patricia. Every morning, he's coming to check when I'm on duty. Say, I'm coming to say good morning to you. You are not going to last here. I didn't even understand what he was saying, because then, what did I know? I was just happy getting my money, working, and all that. And I didn't last there, a few months after I had to leave. But I didn't know, if I had known that I could apply for something, if they said maybe leave of absence or something, and then come back, I think I would have, because I had a good memory of that Home Depot. It was good. The people were loving. My manager was so good, so good. That man was so good, yeah. So, it's when you have such working environment, you don't want to
all
miss
it took was to have a foot forward,
Exactly.
Just given a chance.
Yeah.
And they'll see through what you are able to do.
Yeah, and deconstructing the belief that when you come here, that life is bread and butter. It's the same in your country, and it's even more, because this is not your familiar terrain. For your country, you know what to do. For here, you must go and learn how to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
It's double. So if people can get rid of that mentality, I'm coming to Canada, I'm going to heaven, everything is prepared for me, the table has been prepared for me to eat. Oh no, you got to work for it in spirit and in truth. Like your character, by your searching, by your personality, by your reinventing, your mentality has to tweak a little bit for good, not in a bad way.
Yes.
Just to know that, because if somebody comes to your own country as well, there are a lot of changes that person has to do.
They have to adapt as well.
That's what I've concluded.
Yes, and coming in with that positive attitude and with the tools that you brought with you, you knew that you would overcome it, and you did, and it's really great.
I'm still not there yet, though, but I'm moving.
Still moving, yes,
Still moving.
But you are pretty much in the sphere that you wanted to be. Now that you've kind of found your niche here in Winnipeg, I'm interested to hear your perspective in regards to what you think is working in our cultural communities.
Our cultural communities are very richly endowed.
Mhm.
Very, very richly endowed in so many different ways. But my concern is people don't even see what they have. So for me, it's a little bit of getting a clear vision, knowing what you are, and pushing that out. Because that is the same thing that gave you a job. That is the same thing that is giving you, keeping you where you are. It's identifying your goodness, your qualities, and pushing it out there. In your workplace, you put in your best. You want to excel. It's the same thing. So that individual ingredient, skill that you have, it's embodied in the cultural group. So we are very endowed. We have a lot to offer Canada in so many ways. We have our skills to offer Canada. We have our dedication. We have our humility. We have our diversity that we already have, that we know, to offer Canada. But some people are allowing themselves to be swallowed in the culture of Canada, which is like being, it's not in a bad way, but being passive. You want to be too humble. No, speak out. Bring out your best and demonstrate it. Don't run away from it. Don't be comfortable where you are. There are a lot of people for you to help. There are a lot of people for you to babysit. And that's where I come that. And my vision is that someday an immigrant will see themselves as truly Canadian, not as a Nigerian, a Filipino. I'm not saying lose that identity. Don't lose that identity. But if I come to you and I'm a Nigerian, I need your help. You should help me based on what you see. Instead of saying, oh, she's not from Filipino, I'm not going to help her. I should be able to help Martin. When Martin comes as a Canadian, a white Canadian, I shouldn't say, he's been here, he has this, he has that, he doesn't need it, so I hoard it for my Nigerian person. No. We should get to that point where we are seeing everyone and give what is right for the person, regardless of color, race, or tribe.
So do you find that a lot of our cultural communities are pretty much ethnocentric? To start with, just like individuals who come here, where you rely pretty much on you as coming from your country. And it takes time for you to see the bigger picture and be part of that bigger picture. We're still in that process. You find a lot of our cultural communities still pretty much, within their cultural, the safety of their cultural community.
Yeah. Yes. So it's time for us to
so
dare.
There's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes, so there's a lot of work to be done. And so that's where leadership comes in. And that's where the integral leadership comes in. Because when you see integral, you know that, I don't want to use that word that has just dropped in, it's bad, but you see that both the politician and the pastor, if I should put it that way, are looking for the same thing. And so it's for them to realize that we are all looking for the same thing instead of condemning one another. So the Filipino, the Nigerian, the Canadian, the indigenous, we are all looking for that safety net.
Yes.
And you can't get it if you concentrate only on your community. I can't get it if I concentrate only on my community. It's only when I look around and start picking and say, okay, who has this here? Qualified. Who has this here? Qualified. So we bring that mix, and that mix will now go back and start. So the leaders must demonstrate that kind of unbiased leadership skills.
So what gives you hope about the future of our cultural communities?
The same thing gives me hope about the future of our culture. I strongly believe that I think 10 years, I'm about 10 years now in Canada, it's better than when I first came. Mm-hmm. So if by 10 years I'm seeing some positive changes in the way people, I mean, for me to be part of this group, I didn't know the group was happening. We have people here in this group. So we're thinking of the multiplier effects, you know, and people opening up to the bigger them, to be the bigger self. I think with that, it's slow, but definitely we'll get there. With all the works that are being done of sensitizing people, of reawakening people, I don't want to call it sensitization, reawakening people of the consciousness of who they are. You know, one day I was asking someone, I said, what do you have? Oh, I don't know, I have anything. I'm like, no. I started mentioning to her, you did this, you did that, you did that, you did that. I said, you know what, Patricia, I don't even think about it. I said, no, always think about it. Because it took you time and effort to achieve what you have achieved. So mention it. And when you mention it, it opens you up. That is how the eco-cultural community, I'm sorry to say it, we don't even, some of us don't know the potentials that we have. But we just, I'm thankful for what is going on. There are a lot of them coming up. You know, we have the IPW, we have Martins as the godfather of, and it's so beautiful to see that you have a white Canadian, you know, reaching out to everyone. So
yes.
I'm so grateful to be part of this history.
Yeah, I know some communities came from a colonized background. And so coming in with some of the qualities that, you know, they inherited from, you know, from generations of exposure to expectations of colonizers, like just being humble, not being able to express and, you know, share your strengths and all that, because you shouldn't, you know, those kinds of things. So overcoming those kinds of things is still a hurdle for some of our cultural communities, and I guess we're hoping that eventually they will overcome and be the person that they are, and be Canadians, fully Canadians, with both the culture of their home countries and Canadian culture, because of a new reality that they are Canadians already, isn't it?
You know, yeah, that is what the mentorship is very important. Like you need to mentor people. I need to mentor people myself and tell them speak up. And I'll tell you a story that you will not even believe. When I wrote my book, my publisher connected me to somebody who is an image maker, image professional. And then she was talking about, she said, tell me about yourself. I was telling her all those things as if, whatever, as if it didn't mean anything. Like the humility you're talking about, the colonization we are talking about, you know, makes you feel that you are not good enough. You have to be humble. It's true. But we need to break out from that spell. Because I see a young, when I work with people, I work with in the past, I work with a young white Canadian girl, very young, like maybe teenager or so. The confidence that she exudes, even in her mistake, startled me. And I was looking at this young girl, and when she talks, she will now change it. And I said, no, hold it there. This is what you're saying. And she doesn't want to give up. But after that meeting, I called back and said, why do we kill ourselves? We're apologizing all the time. We're saying sorry all the time. We are saying this. It's good to be polite, but it's not good to be swept under the carpet, if I have to say that.
That's right.
So I wanted to tell you my story. And my image maker, when she finished writing about me, I shouted. I said, is this me? She said, that is the problem. You don't even know who you are, Patricia. This is who you are. And please flaunt it. You work for it. You know, it took me time to put my 2 masters on my card. My colleague, one of my colleagues told me, did you go to school to earn these degrees? I said, yes. I said, put it there. So, Patricia, you must put it in your business card. I said, no, it's not necessary. I just want to. And she said, no, you have to put it there, because there are some people who would want to see it there before they will talk to you. And even when they see it there, because of your color. And that takes us to racism. It takes me to talk about racism. So you will talk about colonization, we talk about racism, and then there's self-determination, then there's unconscious bias, you know, all this terminology. And then there's lateral violence, which we see every day. But we have to come back to understand our intersectionality. Because even back in my home country, as a woman in authority, leading people, I suffer too because I'm a woman. There are some men who will not even respect me. Say, and I tell you, I ran a workshop once, and then this woman, there were two professors in that workshop in Nigeria, and then this man who is up there was an executive director of something. So we were training. This guy tormented me in this meeting because he felt, and then when I talk, he felt I wasn't good enough to be facilitating them. Him, a man. He would prefer to have a younger man who is even less experienced than me. And there I was, facing these two professor women. And the other one was busy talking, saying, hey, Patricia, you know, I think there should be comma, objective, session objective, put a colon. And then she was in that program to write about process. She was coming to learn my process. And instead of humbling herself to say, show me your process book, how you know, she felt she should be embarrassing me in the front of all the people I was training. But it also took another professor, a lady, who stood there and said, Patricia, you're doing so well. You know these things, even though I'm a professor in the university, I don't even know this process. I'm going to use it in teaching in that same class. Those are the type of people we want. So when you pick it, I know that this person is bringing this one down, just counter it. You are an advocacy. Make sure you are, at any point in time, you are an ally to the vulnerable. Yeah. Because the third voice is always very powerful. And that is where people can think. So that is my story. So when you understand your intersectionality as a woman, as a man, or people of color, or whatever, you just see it when it starts. You build your self-esteem. You know who you are. Just make sure you're good in what you're doing, and nobody can rubbish you, right? And so when the person starts, that's what I do. That was what I brought to Canada. Because the first thing that you do as a black woman is like, oh, she doesn't know. I didn't come as a refugee. Refugees, they have their own experiences. I have my experiences as a permanent resident. We are different, right? You know? So you won't treat me and say, do you speak, like somebody will say, are you speaking English? No, I'm speaking Latin. So what happens is your intersectionality. I'm conscious of my intersectionality. Right. I carry it everywhere. I'm conscious of it, and the only weapon to that is to do whatever I know how to do to the best of my ability. I might not be good, I might not be perfect, but it's the best of my ability that I'm giving to the society. So I charge everyone who comes, whether you are white, black, whatever, know your intersectionality and how it affects. Let the people go with their colonization and racism. By the way, I call racism wickedness. No, racism is so beautiful. Racist, I can't. You are a very wicked person to do that to me. Because we can't continue promoting racism. You are wicked. Because you're doing what you know is not right. It's paining you. So I don't glorify racists with racism. You are a wicked person. So I deal you as that. I treat you as that. But when it comes to me, my duty, because this what I'm seeing here happens back home. I quote me, in Nigeria, there is. Yes. We struggle. For sure. We have diversified, huge diversity in my country. This culture, the South and the West, the East and the West, is all there. So you get into a place, you experience it in a different way. Like I mentioned earlier, for your country, you know how to manage it. But for here, there is a culture that you have to learn. Could you, in Nigeria, excuse me, sir, I didn't like what you did to me yesterday. Is it because I am from this part of the country? And the person was talking, but in Canada, oh, Mr. Martins, or Miss Pella, I don't know. Were you able to see, how did you feel about what happened yesterday? And if it's a wicked Pella, not you, that Pella will say, would not even answer. Say, we do it like this, right? But if a good Pella will say, okay, can we talk? Because that person is feeling something. So it's people. People are people. My advice to newcomers, immigrant community, anybody, black, white, Canadian, anyone, is to know that people are people, and don't get carried away and be sentimental and polish somebody's wickedness and say that the person doesn't know. No. Treat it nicely, but be aware that it's your intersectionality that is talking, and learn how to walk around it. And for me, what you have for that is your good deeds. Your hard work, your good hard work, not just hard work. People say strategic work, whatever you call it. Deliver. Look, improve yourself. Stand when your counterpart is standing. If you say, I can produce this cup, be sure that you can produce the cup. Learn. You know?
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
That's the big challenge of the first generation, I would say, because coming from the country, the home country, and coming over to North America, they still carry some of those handicaps that they sort of grew up with back home. But we're lucky. We're in a country where we're given a chance to grow and develop, to be who we are.
Exactly.
You know, we're allowed to do that.
Exactly.
And but it's not going to be an easy process because it's going against the grain. Your personal things that is hampering you to move forward. But there are a lot of help that is available. And if we as a community work together, we can develop as a strong and, you know, a community that is able to share their strengths to make Canada a stronger community. But our young people, our kids who grow up here won't be like us because they're growing up with a sense of who they are. They are given the opportunity to speak up, unlike us when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Right? You know, so there's really a lot of hope for our communities to be really what it should be.
I agree with you.
A community that is worthy of being part of a country like Canada.
Yes, and that's where the mentorship is very important.
Right.
Pass on the experiences. You know my slogan? Any person that meets me will never have my experience, will be better than me.
Oh, okay.
That's my slogan.
That's great.
So, yeah.
So can you comment on diversity and inclusion in your community?
In Canada or back home?
In your community here and in Winnipeg as a whole.
You know, for me, diversity is not a problem. The issue is inclusion.
Yeah.
Inclusion is a journey of even self-determination, is a journey of personal sacrifice, is a journey of personal sacrifice, is a journey of dying and rising again. Because you gotta let go. You gotta let go some things so that you let in the other person. That's where inclusion is. Inclusion is not power. Inclusion is equal opportunity. Yeah. So if I'm in school, you have to create something that fits me. You have to take away the barriers that will stop me from excelling. And what are my barriers? That is inclusion. I am in a meeting with you. I don't know how to talk with the public. You are sensitive. As a leader, that is why the leaders are very critical. The people we make as leaders, even in our groups, are very critical. Don't shun people down because they have something. So you must respect human beings. That's number one. That is inclusion. Respecting people, honoring people. That's inclusion. So I'm on the table with you. I don't talk. Come with me. It's a journey. And make me free to talk with you in my culture. And then my culture can make you uncomfortable, you know. Like, you know how we laugh in Nigeria. Oh, you know. Might make you, but you know I'm coming from a good place. So knowing that people are coming from and giving them that chance, I think that is when we start. For now, it's work in progress. And I know we'll get there because some organizations are really deliberate and do it. And I want to say one thing. People think inclusion is to include people of color. Oh, no. You too have to make a way to include the white people. It's total.
Working together.
Yes, it's working together.
Everyone.
It's not, oh, the white Canadian is not allowing me to talk. You too, you have to give way to the white, because even in the white Canadian, they're also struggling for inclusion. Because people have enjoyed power and authority for a long time. Inclusion is letting go that power.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of discipline and determination to say, okay, I would not lose power, but I want people to be comfortable. People don't know the joy you get by empowering people. It's so relaxing. You just sit and people be working for you, even in a team.
Yes.
When you empower your team, you give them voice, they will not even hide. But when you are so strong on your ways as boss, some things will be going under the table you won't see because they're afraid to open up to you.
Mhm.
I used to have a boss that would tell me, I got your back, Patricia. And that made it possible for me. Every day I will give her reports about everything that I'm doing. Everything. Even my mistakes. Because she's told me, I got your back. And she truly got my back. If I make mistakes, she doesn't say, hey, no. She will say, okay, I got you, Patricia. I got you. Okay, so what are you going to do to fix this now? This is really bad. I know, but that's what we want. That's inclusion.
Mm.
They're taking out, like,
Embracing everyone.
everyone. And it's a consciousness, it's a level of consciousness. So that's it.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this process of change, which is huge. I'm so thankful that our path crossed, the path of Martins and Steve, our path crossed eventually. So thank you so much I hope my talk made sense. But
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Patricia. Your insights are very much appreciated. And once again, a very powerful story of resilience and courage, which we hope will inspire newcomers, or anyone for that matter, who is in the process of finding their way in our new adopted country, Canada. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching our storytelling podcast. Till next time. Bye.